Welcome to Littleton Live. I'm your host, Nicole Biagioni. The objective of this program is to have discussions about topics that affect us here in Littleton. We welcome your calls each week and look forward to having a meaningful dialogue with you about specific topics that we will discuss. Tonight, our topic is why do we need a new library? We want to hear your opinions on this topic. Do you think a new library is a good thing or not? If you would like to be part of the discussion, give us a call at 978-540-2487. If you call and are put on the air, please turn down your TV because there's a slight delay in what you're seeing in the direct phone line to the studio. Also, if you get a busy signal or a recorded message, please hang up and try again later. So the phone lines are open. While we wait for our first call, let me welcome to the studio Christine Aslan. She is an author and a member of the Littleton Library Trustees. Also with us tonight is Sarah Raumbacher. She is a member of the Friends of the Reuben Hoare Library. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Nicole.
Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. So if you just kind of want to introduce yourself and how are you a part of either the Facebook group or the Library Trustees?
Sure. My name is Chris Aslan, and I am a member of the Library Trustees. I've been on the board for the past 2 years. And prior to that, I've been an active member of the library community as a patron, as someone who uses a lot of the meeting spaces for Girl Scout meetings. I have a writers group that meets there regularly, for book club, for research. As Nicole mentioned, I am an author and I've done a lot of research using the resources the library offers. I've spent time writing in the library, in addition to all of the, my responsibilities as a trustee. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk about the library. We're really excited about the new building project. And hopefully we'll get lots of great questions that we can answer for you this afternoon. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Raumbacher, and I'm on the board of the Friends of the Library. I've been doing that for, I think, about 6 years. And for the last 2 years, I've been really involved with fundraising for the new library building. So that's something that I'd love to answer any questions about.
Well, I'm glad you're here and open to answer any questions. So I think we need to start off this discussion with where did we start and where are we now? Like, it's sort of a timeline. So what would you say to that?
Sure. I can give you a couple things, and maybe Sarah can kind of fill in from her experience. From thinking about historically, the library has been in its current location since 1989. It moved here from, I believe it was where the history center, the Houghton building, where the Littleton Historical Society is right now. And as I don't know if people know, but the Shattuck building used to be a school. So the library moved into sort of the school building, and it was sort of retrofitted to be compatible as a library. So we've been in that space for about 30 years, in a space that was really originally designed to be a school. So several years ago, there was an opportunity to apply for this grant from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners for some grant monies that would contribute to funding a new library space. And so our library director, Sam Alvarez, wrote a grant along with the assistance of some of the staff and as well as the trustees at the time. And we were accepted, the grant was accepted, or approved, I should say. And we recently found out that we actually have the money. So we're able to go forward with the design. I'm skipping over a lot of stuff in the middle there. I know Sarah might want to fill in a little bit about some of the fundraising that's happened along in that timeline as well.
Yeah, the trustees actually started fundraising 10 years ago with this in mind, that they wanted to sort of get that process rolling so that they would have some money to start the process. The town did spend a little bit of money and had an additional grant from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, or MBLC. I'm going to have to shorten that so I don't stumble over it every time. But to do the design, there was an initial design phase that was needed to be able to actually submit the grant, just to do a feasibility study and needs analysis of what the new library should be. And then over the years, I know through the process of writing the grant, there were a lot of things. There were a lot of different locations evaluated. There were tests done like on the location that was selected to make sure that it was compatible. There had to be some transfers, some sort of administrative thing to transfer the town-owned land from department to department to make that all happen. And like I said, for the last couple of years, we've done some more concerted effort at fundraising. And I'll go ahead and start pointing you to littletonlibraryproject.org/donate to go to the donation page, and it'll tell you all about how you can donate to try to help make this happen. We've had an overwhelming response over counting the fundraising that started 10 years ago. We have actually raised, I think the total right now is $661,000.
That's awesome.
We have a goal of $1 million, and I think we are really well on our way. One thing that you can also do is we have a pledge drive. We called it Building Community 01460 because the library really does build community. And that is, there's a link on that page where you can click. And right now, it's all you're doing is saying that you pledge your support for the future when the library is actually a project. Then we're going to ask you to make your donation over a period of 4 years. But right now, we're trying to get 250 households in Littleton to commit to that. And we're also well on our way to that. I think we have 86 or 88 pledges toward that goal. And so that's really, it's just an amazing response that we've had from the town. There's a little comment area. You can add why the library is important to you. And we've just had some really great comments from people.
Yeah, so if you'd like to comment on this, ask a question, you're more than welcome to. Call in at 978-540-2487. So we have a few PSAs about what needs to be updated in the library and how, what are the issues and how can we improve them. So we're gonna go to the first one, and it's on the Children's Corner.
A children's room is a place to learn, play, and grow. The current size of the children's room is far less than what is needed. Access is either up a large set of stairs, dangerous for small children, or up the elevator. Exiting the elevator is very difficult with a stroller or wheelchair because there is limited space for turning. New, taller shelving installed to handle the overflowing collection still makes aisles too tight and further blocks sight lines, making it difficult to watch children as they look through the stacks. The play area is crowded with toys and craft items, leaving little space for creative activities. Story times must be held in the same space as the computers, blocking both computer use and access to some books. The new library building will provide a safe, comfortable space for children to learn, play, and grow.
So obviously, looking from that PSA, it had a bunch of great information, and one of the big issues was space. I mean, I went to the Children's Corner when I don't know how old I was, but it was tight, but I felt like, oh my God, there's so many books, but it is tight from the images and whatnot. So how will accessibility, I don't know if you know, but how will accessibility and space be changed so it can be easier for patrons?
Well, one of the things, and I don't know if this is something that I sort of learned in my role as a trustee, I didn't really realize this before, but one of the things that libraries do on a regular basis is weed out books, which means that As you get in new books, in order to maintain your certification as a library, you have to constantly buy new books. And in order to buy new books, because we don't have enough space, we have to discard books that we don't have space for anymore. And we're at the point in Littleton where we're discarding books that are only 3 years old. Because we have to bring in new books to maintain our certification. So one of the things that we'll be able to do in the new space is have more room for the books, in addition to the wider aisles for the for wheelchairs and for strollers, as the PSA mentioned. The shelving will be able to be lower. So we did actually increase the height of the shelves recently within the last year, so that we could have more space. But in order to do that, we raised the height. And as you know, in the children's room, children are small, and you can't always see people in the as they're running through the stacks with the tall shelves now. So to me, that's one of the big things that we'll be able to do, is to really be able to keep things. I mean, how many books do you love that are more than 3 years old? Right, a lot. I mean, like we always have to buy new things, and to be able to keep things on the shelf longer, I think is going to be a really important feature.
Yeah.
There's also going to be a dedicated craft space and play space for the kids. So we'll be able to have a story time or a craft time or a program in a space that can be closed and kind of closed off, so that other patrons can still use the other parts of the children's room, maybe who don't want to be part of the craft. They can still use the space.
The great thing about that craft room is it also opens out onto the patio.
Yes, the patio is going to be great.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a patio?
There's a patio,
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness. So, I mean, I don't think a lot of people know the design, like what it's going to look like. And luckily, the Littleton Library Project website has those designs, because it's, I mean, as a citizen, I couldn't find them. So, I mean, I'm appreciative that there is a site dedicated to this. So if you go to the website and go under the Designs tab, if it'll pop up, here it is. So here's just some of, like, the outside pictures, which it already looks beautiful. But to look on the inside, we have a floor plan so if we can find the children's room.
Yep.
Yep,
So
it's right there.
Right.
Yep, you're looking at it right there.
Oh, perfect. So here, book stacks, chairs, and
So it might be worth talking about the overall structure of the
Yeah.
library. So the location, as you may know, is sort of behind the current library, actually behind the multipurpose room, and here at the LCTV studios, across the parking lot where there's a wooded area right now. So you'll be entering from the parking lot on the upper floor of the library. There's a two-level design, which is really preferable from the 3 levels that we have. It's tougher for staffing, and MBLC really suggests that new libraries all have a 1 or 2 floor plan.
yeah.
It's easier for a lot of reasons. Anyway, so you would enter the front door, and the circulation desk would be there. The adult books, the fiction and nonfiction, some of the small study meeting rooms are on that floor, and reference and computers, and all the staff offices. And then what you're seeing here is the lower floor, and the area to the right is the children's room. You can see it opens out onto the patio. That's those squares sort of in the upper left. So this would be down the hill. So the lower floor opens out onto that patio.
So this is the upstairs right here.
That's the upstairs, yeah,
Okay.
with the circulation desk right about in the middle there.
And you'll notice there's a lot more, and I mean, you may get to this later, Nicole, and I apologize for jumping ahead, but you'll notice there's a lot of meeting spaces, a lot more meeting spaces than we currently have. We are often declining opportunities to people for meeting space because we don't have enough rooms. And so I really think that we're going to be able to accommodate a lot more groups, a lot more small group tutorial situations, book club meetings. I know we've got a knitting group, we've got a lot of book groups, a genealogy group, with Girl Scout groups, Boy Scout groups, people that are sort of always like trying to get space, and we're sort of fighting over, not really fighting, but sort of like trying to get the spaces, and we're often having to decline people. So good programming spaces not only for the librarians to use for programming, but also space for the community to use.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But next up is jumping from kids. We're going to go to the teen section, because I know I also went to the teen section for summer reading and also all sorts of stuff. So let's jump to that.
Absolutely.
Teens, tweens, and young adults want and need their own dedicated space in the library. The young adult area in the Reuben Hoare Library is a great mixed-use area with many new features in the past few years, from a style update to the addition of more comfortable seating to the new gaming console. But limited space in the library building means that this area is directly adjacent to those patrons using the computers. The design of the new building calls for a separate, dedicated young adult area with their own computer space, as well as access to a conference room for group work. The new library building will provide a safe, friendly spot for after school or any time.
So again, space is an issue. You only have that little rectangle, and also how it showed where, the computers are on one side, and
There's no door to close. You can't close it off.
exactly. If someone, I don't know if they're playing Wii or Xbox, but if someone's playing on the console and they hear all the noises, and then there's someone trying to do work on the computer, it's not exactly like convenient. So how would the teen space be set up similar to the children's space minus like the craft area?
Yeah, if you go back to that first floor on the design plan, where the children, it's on the same level as the children's room in the upper left.
Right here.
So it's actually a dedicated space where you can close the door, have a private, close it off. It's much larger than the current space that the teens have. So we'll be able to really increase the number of books that are in there, dedicated programming space for teens. One of the things that Sarah and I were talking about earlier, when we met earlier before we came over, is how the library really is a great space for teens in town. They don't have to buy anything. There's no risk that they're going to get kicked out of a space because they haven't bought something. They can hang out all afternoon. No one's going to yell at them to leave. We really don't have any other spaces in town for teens to kind of hang out that isn't sort of a retail or a restaurant situation where they don't want to be, they can't be patrons all afternoon at the pizza shop. But at the library they can stay all day.
So if you have a question, please give us a call at 978-540-2487. And I actually understand that being a college student, I'd go to the big library at my school and I'd find a little niche for myself, and then I'd do work. But here I had to go home, or I went to the library at school if you don't do sports and you don't want to hang out in the library at school that closes at 3:30, where are you supposed to go? Library is directed for you doing work, and you're not home Googling and watching YouTube videos. At the library you could do that too, but there's less distractions, I feel, at the library.
And very easy access to both Russell Street and the middle school, because the walking path that goes right behind.
Yeah, it's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah, so that makes it easy.
Also,
go ahead,
Also, there are computers for the teens to use, so not everyone has their own computer. Some don't have a computer at home, and so that's really, the library is the only source of free public computers in town.
Yeah, so I guess a planning question more so is, what are we going to do about parking? Because it's going to get very tight when construction starts.
So the architect has committed to using the least sort of possible space that they can for the actual construction. So we don't know exactly how many spaces are going to be lost to the construction, but they are committed to using as the smallest amount of space.
Yeah.
And in terms of their mission is not to really deal with the parking lot, but in the plan, they have suggested how we can expand the parking lot a bit to create more spaces once the
Nice.
building is done.
Yeah.
But that's not really under their purview, but they have suggested how we can, how the town can increase parking spots once it's complete.
Does it involve removing the tennis courts? Because I play
No,
tennis.
it does not.
No, it doesn't?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good.
We are both parents of tennis players,
Yeah.
so we understand that, and it will not impact the ball field either,
Okay, so
So-
people can still play their sports.
Absolutely.
So I guess
or the sliding hill.
Oh,
Does
the
not
sli-
impact the sliding
oh
hill.
my gosh, my
So no-
favorite sliding hill.
stays, ball field stays, tennis court stays.
So
Yeah.
activities won't be impacted. That's a good thing to hear. So I guess a common statement that people say is, we don't need a new library. How do you respond to that?
You want to take this to start with? Sure, we can both talk about this one for a long time.
I just have to say, I've gotten so much from the library through my entire life, from when I was a kid all the way up through having my own children and as an adult there. And I want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to experience that and enjoy the benefits of the library. And honestly, right now, when I go in the library, I can see that there are barriers to access. I can see that if anyone has mobility issues or they're pushing a stroller, it's very difficult to get into the library. It's either steps up from the front door or you have to make your way to the elevator, which is kind of off in a corner, and then back. I look at we saw the teen area right next to the computers. If someone is trying to use the computers, I know that there are a lot of people that come in to use them for, say, to apply for a job, and they're trying to do some work there, but then they've got the teens on one side, the bathroom is there, the elevator's there, the circulation desk is there. It's really not easy for someone to go and be able to concentrate and do some work. There aren't enough rooms either. If they did have their own computer, they want to do some work just in a room. There's basically one small room that they can use. Scheduling meetings. As I said, I'm on the Friends of the Library, and even the Friends of the Library have had to move their meeting or sort of cram ourselves into the historical room to hold our meeting. And you don't really want people meeting in the historical room necessarily.
Yeah.
That's another space where you look, and it's the climate control is kind of tough, and that's our local history.
And it's priceless. Those are things that can't be replaced.
Yeah. So I just see a lot of things where it's just packed in, and we need the room to be able to spread out, make it accessible. We're all temporarily abled. You don't know when someday you're not going to be able to go up the steps. It's not just what you think of as stereotypically accessibility, but even if you twist your ankle, you're going to appreciate that. Or if you're pushing a stroller and you're trying to get them up to the children's room and maneuver out of the elevator, it's tight right now. But the new library has thought through all those things, and we have. I know the trustees and the architects have talked with the Disability Commission and talked with some people about things that they'd like to see, and it's sometimes things that you don't immediately think of. One suggestion was to put a different color of carpet, like from the front door in towards the circulation desk, because that makes someone that's got low vision able to see that this is the pathway in.
I think that's a really cool idea. So speaking of accessibility, let's go to that little PSA and then we'll talk more about that.
Accessibility is one of the biggest challenges in our current library building, not only for those with mobility or other challenges, but also parents with strollers, someone with an injury, or even a patron with an armful of overdue books. From the minute a visitor comes in the front entrance of the library, they can see the hurdles the building presents. At the front entrance, uneven stairs trip up even those normally sure of foot. For visitors with mobility challenges, the lift is a noisy and unreliable way to get out of the foyer to the main floor. Several patrons have been stuck in the lift, requiring assistance from emergency workers. Observers will see that a space below the lift poses a potential danger to children and others. Entering from the rear of the library poses its own challenges. Using the elevator to move between the 3 floors requires some tight maneuvering, especially in the children's room. Getting between the stacks of books is another tight fit, with absolutely no space to turn around. Because of limited space, librarians have had to place books on higher shelves and use the very bottom of the shelving, making it difficult for all, regardless of their ability, to get the materials from the shelf. Though technically accessible, even the bathrooms pose challenges to many patrons. For example, in one, if the changing table is lowered, the door can no longer be opened. Based on feedback from the community, the new designs include a family bathroom with enough space for a large changing table for those who need it. The designs for the new library building will not just meet ADA requirements, but will provide a safe, easy to access space for all patrons.
So that was some really great information. We've been talking up about how great the new library would be, but I know out there there's going to be people with concerns and have different point of views. So if you'd like to voice those point of views, give us a call at 978-540-2487. We'd like to hear from you, either if you agree or disagree. So accessibility, I feel just as a person who is able-bodied, we don't think about that. It goes completely over our heads. And then unfortunately, since we don't think about it, we don't take into consideration people who do have disabilities, and it's really unfortunate. So I guess when you were talking about the colored carpeting and all those adjustments, so the book stacks are going to be wide, and like what other adjustments will there be that are maybe people don't know about?
I mean, I think in general, just because there's going to be a bigger, sort of more floor space, there will be the ability to move around more easily. We don't have all of the details about the furniture, but certainly we've already talked a little bit about tables and desks that will be wheelchair. I don't know if accessible is the right word, but that you can sort of roll up and fit underneath the, your arms can fit underneath the desk so that you can work in your wheelchair at a desk. Those are things that have been discussed. We will be talking about furnishings at a later point, but those are things that have definitely already been already on the table. So I think in terms of some of the things that we just saw on the video with the door opening and just that sort of tight space between the stacks, all of that will be eliminated because there'll be just much more openness to the space that we're going to be able to be in. And I think I was just sort of jump in on what Sarah was saying before, the accessibility and the, should we
All right,
pause?
We're going to take this call first. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
Good, Nicole. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And thank you for calling in. Do you have an opinion, a question, a comment? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting. I love that this forum exists, that you brought this there, and I think it's such a great way to have a conversation and get other opinions out there. I think the library is a really special topic to me. My family is there at least once a week. And find it to be such an essential resource, not just for books and materials, but as a meeting space, and to be able to see people. And I think that as our town keeps growing, these sorts of infrastructure pieces are so essential. Again, to provide Wi-Fi for folks that maybe don't have as much access to it, to provide air conditioning and a space to meet when it's hotter outside, to be a resource for people seeking jobs, looking to connect, the children's room, and I think I'm hoping that this goes through so that the library can become the size and facility that's needed as our town keeps expanding.
Yeah, I kind of 100% agree with you here, where our town is growing, and you made that point known that if we want our town to grow, we kind of need to update necessities. And I guess the library is one of them, and people don't think about that the library is something that we need to update.
No, I think that there's been some unfortunate discussion that it's like the library or another resource, and I don't think that's really valid. I think that when you're growing a community, you have to really take the hard looks at budgets and then also all of the resources. And, I hear the argument that books are available online or that people are reading from e-readers more, so why do you need space for, the physical books? As a book lover myself, I don't really love that argument, but I do understand it. But it's really a community center in a lot of ways. Yes, it's the books, but they do different community events and provide really a place for a lot of middle schoolers when programming after school isn't available to be able to go safely for parents who work. Meeting spaces, places. I've never been to the library and not run into at least 3 people I know and are able to catch up with. So it really builds a sense of community. And I think that's really important as Littleton continues to grow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well,
An interesting thing about the e-readers, from the statistics of the library, only 2% of the checkouts of the library are ebooks. People are still reading physical books.
Absolutely. I think Wendy brings up a good point, too, about the community aspect. So you'll see, and if you look at the plan online, a lot of thought obviously has gone into the physical space of the books, but I think you'll see there's so much thought that's gone into the space for small group meetings and small rooms for a couple people meeting, to a small group meeting, to a larger group meeting. There's lots of different configurations of the sort of that meeting space. Hopefully we'll accommodate a lot of different groups.
We haven't even talked about
And I think that's so essential. And I know that just personally, I have a daughter who is a recent graduate from Littleton, and then also a daughter who is entering 4th grade. And in my years in Littleton, I've used those spaces for small meetings to plan out the next year's Girl Scouts, to plan a multi-town charity ride with groups from different towns able to come in and kind of plan for a ride that Littleton was hosting, for drama meetings, for fundraising meetings, for tutoring needs. So it's really, and it's not, the space is not ideal, what we have right now. And the library has always bent over backwards to make it work. And if, as one family, we've used it that much, as the family sizes continue to increase within, or the number of them within Littleton, it would be great to have that additional ability to be able to support.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in. You had so much insightful things to say, and we have so much food for thought now. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks for hosting. Have a good evening.
You too. So space and meeting rooms are, I think, and you both said that that's one of the things that we need. And I can agree with you. I'd like to meet somewhere that isn't Starbucks, where you have to pay $6 for a venti berry refresher and maybe like a croissant. So then it's like that buys me maybe 3 hours, and I don't get the dirty eye from the baristas. Like this, it's just, I mean, it's something we don't understand and utilize. As it goes over our head. We just go home as like a student. We go home after school and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the new design has 4 small meeting rooms that fit, I don't know, 4 to 6 people, I think.
Yeah.
And then there's a mid-size meeting room, and this is something that came out of the community input, was that there was sort of a need for that mid-size, and maybe think of like the size of a Girl Scout troop or 8 to 10 people who want to get together and have a meeting. And so that room is going to be dividable. So you could fit your whole Boy Scout troop in there, or you could divide it into 2, and then the room isn't taken up
Yeah.
by a smaller group, it can be used by two. And then there's the large meeting room that sort of is the new Cooper room that we have right now that is also going to be dividable. So right now, I think the Cooper room is
Like
rated
40
for
or
49.
40 or
I
something,
think it's
yeah.
49 people. I forget the exact number on this, but it's I want to say around 100.
Yeah, I think it doubles the opportunity.
Yeah,
Like it's almost
yeah.
like you have two Cooper rooms. But then you
Exactly,
can make
yeah.
it bigger and have like 100 people in the room.
Because that
so.
whole like pole in there, that's such a pest. I'm just, it's like you're just, I mean, you have like a table, then you're
not
trying to talk
great.
to someone. Sorry, I'm talking to the pole right now. So kind of switching gears, one of you mentioned about the history room, like where there's precious, valuable items that have our town's history and they're not being conditioned properly. So let's go to that quick PSA and we can talk about that.
The library's local history room contains one-of-a-kind materials that are in danger of being lost forever. In the current building, the local history room doubles as an overflow meeting room, even though the large table marked with generations of initials crowds the materials. Windows let in damaging light and cannot be opened to prevent the room from overheating without risking damage to the town's historical documents. Without specific climate controls, the irreplaceable materials degrade every day. The design of the new library includes a climate-controlled and UV-safe room with sufficient space for safe and secure storage of materials and enough room for local history buffs and history students to access the materials. A new library building will preserve our town's valuable historical documents.
So I think Littleton prides itself on its history, and oh, never mind, we have a call.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah. All right, Shawn, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. If you have a question, a comment, a concern, voice it now. The floor is yours.
Well, I think the library is a great idea, and it was nice to see some of the pictures that you were showing of what it was going to look like. I just had a couple of questions. One, what is going to be done with what would you do with the old library? What could that be used for? And also, with the hours of the library change? Currently, I believe it's not open on Sundays. Would that change so that you could utilize the meeting rooms and such on a Sunday?
Sure. I'll take the second question first, Shawn. So I don't really know if we are going to be able to expand the hours because that's some budget implications there. I can tell you that many of the meeting rooms will be able to be cordoned off from the main area of the library, so they will have some accessibility in the evening. So if you've ever used the Cooper room can be reserved when the library is not in use by getting a key in advance, and that will be the same. Will be the case with the new building. We'll be able to close off some of the more restrictive areas and keep open the meeting spaces so that you can use them after hours without having a staff person on. So the old building, that's a really good question. We actually get asked that question quite a bit. And really we don't have that answer to that. We know that the Space Needs Committee has been meeting to discuss that as sort of in concert with the whole overall master plan of the town. So that is something that is being considered, and I would certainly recommend that you reach out to the Space Needs Committee. I know they meet on a regular basis, and they could probably give you a better answer as to what is going to happen to the existing building once the library moves.
Do you have ideas?
Yeah, if you have any ideas, I'm sure
Well, my thought was this. I know there was talk about a senior center.
Yeah.
So to me, this would meet both needs here to get a new library, and then maybe somehow renovate the old library for a senior center. So you kind of meeting two needs with one overall project was my thought.
That's a great idea. Great idea.
Well,
Overall, I think the library is a great idea.
well, thank you so much, Shawn, for calling in, and have a good one.
Thanks,
Okay,
John.
thank you.
So he brought up a good point about the senior center, because I know they've been looking for a new space. Has their ideas been come across where they renovate the old space? Because I know they've been also looking at space downtown, like where, I mean, I know you guys aren't the expert on that, but is that a possibility, or do we renovate that to make it like a nicer space? Like,
It's really up to the Space Needs Committee,
I think it's all
the
on
Board
the table.
of Selectmen, the PMBC. They need to figure out. I mean, it's a resource for the town, and they can figure out what to do with it. The library, to build a new building at 50% of the cost, essentially, because we have that $5.8 million grant. It means that we have resources for other things like a senior center or rehabbing the building. That grant of $5.8 million just it's an amazing thing to be able to have that much of a building funded. So it's definitely I think something that we just can't pass up.
Absolutely.
exactly, that is a lot of money. I guess before we talk about the grant, did the library ever consider just renovating the space that it already had, or was that just after they looked at the space, it was determined it wasn't an option, we need to do something else?
Well, the part of the deal with the grant is that it needs to be new construction.
Yeah.
So we can't use that grant money to retrofit an old building. So in a lot of ways.
Well, they did look
Yeah.
at that, and interestingly, it actually came out to be more to build on to that, to rehab it, and to build enough space. It actually came out more expensive, and part of that was because you need to move out into a temporary location and then back.
Right. And the thing with the library too, there are some structural components to a library that would need to be done to retrofit to sort of make it compliant with sort of today's standards for a library. So there's, it was a school.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't built with the weight in mind of books and the things that are in a library. So there's some structural issues that would need to come into play if they were going to retrofit.
And even just configuration,
Yeah.
like we said, the new building is 2 floors. That's much preferable
Exactly.
to being able to having 3 floors. Just it not only spreads things out over 3 floors, but it means that you need staff to manage those 3 floors. And
Yeah, so kind of shifting to the grant, because I pulled into town hall one day and I saw that on the little sign, and then I looked on Facebook. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money so obviously that's gonna take off the bill per se. But how does the grant work? Because I don't think a lot of people understand how the grant works.
So the grant is so we have $5.8 million towards the cost of the building. The building itself is estimated right now, and obviously costs change, constantly, but right now the estimate is to be about $14 million to build the building. My understanding is that the town is going to be asked to fund the $14 million up front for the cost of the building, and the grant will come back incrementally over time. So we get paid back that $5.8 million over the course of, I want to say it's 5 years, that we're going to get.
which sort of services the debt that we have.
Yeah.
So it comes down quickly, even though on the books it might be for the full amount, then that grant services
Yeah.
It's going to pay off that debt as
Right. But that's something for the Board of Selectmen and FinCom to manage too. I mean, we can't.
We don't know exactly.
Speak too much.
We're just really trying to sort of fundraise as much as we can to sort of get some of that additional And just so I want to shout out to a couple of our fifth graders who did a readathon the last month. We raised over $5,000
Yes.
by reading in the last month as part of the fundraising effort.
Yeah.
And so we have kids helping out with the fundraising. So it's been really a spectacular town community effort.
It shows how much the kids value the library too, and they're willing to step up. There's been a lemonade stand this year.
Yes.
I think in the past we've had some kids do a lemonade stand as well, and it's just amazing to see them doing that. And that I didn't include that 5,000 in my fundraising total, so that's gonna bring us up to, I think, $666,000.
Nice.
So that sign that you see out in front of Town Hall, we'll be
You gotta update it
painting
a
little
bit.
more. Yeah.
All right, we got a phone call. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. If you have a question, comment, concern, the floor is yours.
Well, I just wanted to say how impressive it is that the Friends have raised so much money to help support building this library. You don't normally see that amount of fundraising being done when we're building a building in this town.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mary.
I appreciate you kind of just giving props out to the town, because if we're motivated to do something, I guess just shows like what a community can do together. Have you guys given like the amount, like the total amount that we've fundraised so far?
Yeah.
Yes, $666,000.
So like close to $1 million. Like
that's our goal. The goal is $1 million. And one thing that we are doing is some people have made donations to put a name on some of the rooms in the library. And we actually have 10 rooms in the library that people have made significant donations towards, and that's part of our fundraising. We have, I think, 2 more rooms that are sort of people are negotiating for. So if that's something that someone is interested in, they should talk to Sam Alvarez at the library. He can put you in touch with the right people to talk about that.
There you go.
I mean, between the pledge drive and just all the donations that have come in, we've done the mini golf fundraiser that we've done now 2 years in a row in March. That has raised $15,000 each year, and just gotten hundreds and hundreds of people into the library for a great community event.
Mary, do you have any other questions at all or comments?
No, I just think it's so wonderful how the town is pulling together to help support this necessary item in our community. As you said, it's a very good community builder. It provides a lot of space for, having 2 college-age kids. They could use, if they were local, they'd be able to use the library for study area. I know when I was in college, we used the library a lot for studying, and you had mentioned that, Nicole.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in. It's much appreciated.
Thanks, Mary.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a great night.
Bye. We only have a few short minutes left, but you still have time to call in. Give us a call in at 978-540-2487. So we've kind of mentioned the kids a bit, and I feel that a lot of people say, oh, the library, it's like a dying field, like a newspaper, like we don't need it anymore. So how is besides like computers and whatnot, meeting space, like how's the library gonna cater to that younger generation to be like, this is a space for you?
I think certainly the social aspect of it, the community spaces that we have available. I mean, it's certainly, books are always going to be in the library. I mean, that's definitely the thing that, we're always going to, I probably take out, I use the reserve, so I will request my books, and the librarians will pull them off the shelf for me, and I'll go in and pick up a stack of books. I probably take out 10 books. At least if I'm doing research on a book, 10 books at a time. And that's a great resource for me. But besides books, the social aspect, the meeting spaces. We're going to be able to do a lot more programming, I think. And we're already doing a lot of programming.
And Sam's gotten all the makerspace
Right.
products that's going to be something that can be maybe located in that little meeting room off of the teen area that we talked about.
Yeah. So active spaces, not just static spaces. The computers. There's going to be an art gallery, I believe, in that foyer area when you walk in, or the lower level. The patio. I can envision social events on the patio, potentially. I mean, I just think it's going to be a really amazing resource for the town. We probably haven't even thought of all the things that can happen over there. But the genealogy happens. Movies. We have DVDs for free that you can come and take out. Plus, there's movie nights that we have in the library. I just think it's going to be a really nice meeting space, a community center for all ages. I mean, kids, teens, as well as adults. So I really think it's going to be a space that's going to bring people together.
Yeah, so let's kind of switch gears, and look at the current library space, look at it, the condition, and what the staff kind of have to go through too. So let's take a look at that.
Did you ever wonder how the books and other materials in the library are made ready for you to borrow? In the office behind the circulation desk, up to 4 people work at desks right next to each other to catalog books, get them ready for shelving, plan programs, and manage the day-to-day running of the library. Deep in the basement of the converted school building, the library keeps archives, stores books coming and going to the interlibrary loan, and keeps other items needed for programs like summer reading. Staff eat their lunch or dinner in a drab basement room filled with items in overflow storage. Cabinets and shelving fill the dungeon, and even a short hallway is filled with the internet servers and other equipment. The new library building will centralize library operations into office space located near the circulation desk, interlibrary loan drop-off, and the staff room. Internet servers will be safely located in their own closet, and a dedicated LCTV room will allow broadcast directly from the new large meeting room. Because these features are designed in from the start, the new building will provide a better and more efficient workspace for our librarians to provide their services to the community.
So I think that video just showed us something that normally we don't see, and we only think, oh, there's only 2 librarians that work there. It's not many people doing a lot of behind-the-scene work to make the library work as it does. So I feel that they also kind of need a say in this, so not just what's going on right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a sort of spaces that you don't really see on a regular basis, and you don't really see how tight the working conditions are. All the books that have to be prepared to go out onto the shelf. This has to happen somewhere, and this is really not a great space for them to do that.
Yeah. So I guess, is this going to be voted on? Because I feel we've talked about this, and the hypothetical library, we're going to do this and this and this. But is this going to be voted on, and will people have a voice to talk about this besides the show? Where can?
Sure. Well, we definitely have the money. The money is ours as of July, I think, 15th. We got word that we have the $5.8 million. What the town needs to do now, we have 6 months to come up with, or to earmark the remaining funds, basically. And as I mentioned before, the request is going to be for the full amount, because then we will get reimbursed as the grant goes through over time. And that vote is going to be in October. October 28th, I believe, is the date. We don't know what the exact wording of the warrant is going to be yet, but there will be a vote that we will have to decide, yes, we want to take the $5.8 million and go forward with the library.
We have one more caller from Katie. Katie, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. If you have a question, comment, concern, I'm gonna give you the floor. It's all you, my friend.
Okay, well, I was just wondering, as a frequent visitor to the teen section, I know that it's quite small, and I was just wondering if the teen section in the new library is going to be larger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite a bit larger, and it's going to be more accessible, and it's going to be private. You're going to be able to close the door and actually have sort of a closed-off area for all the teens to be without disturbing other patrons. You're going to be able to have a space that you can close off.
Though we should say glass walls.
Glass. Oh, yeah. So you can't
So you can see it, but it's gonna be soundproof.
That's actually some input so as the staff looked at the plans and the plans were evolving, that they tweaked that area a little bit to make sure that there are sight lines, to make sure that everyone is safe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's quite snazzy.
Well, thank you so much, Katie, for calling in.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well, do you have any final words as we close the show?
Just that we are really grateful for the opportunity, and grateful to the town for being so supportive in their fundraising efforts and for coming out to the vote. We're really excited. We're really excited to sort of get past this next step. It feels like, for us, it just feels like we've been waiting for a really long time.
Exactly.
To sort of get through to the point where we can actually break ground and make this happen.
Yeah, I'm just so gratified by the support of the town, and I'm excited that we can make a space really that serves every member of the community, from babies all the way through.
Yep.
It's a place for everyone.
It's a place for everybody.
Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on the show. It's much appreciated.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for watching Littleton Live. I want to thank our callers for being a part of the discussion tonight. Next week, August 7th, we will be discussing whether the Littleton Board of Health should ban the sale of flavored vaping cartridges in town. Think about that and join us next week and give us your opinions on Littleton Live. I'm Nicole Biagioni, wishing you a good evening, Littleton.